spite of the violence, the law breaking, the damage, last night, Miami-Dade Mayor Carlos Gimenez called a curfew. The arrest began in earnest. I should say the curfew began in earnest at 10 o'clock last night.
And with that curfew, the arrests really did begin. The mayor with us now via Skype from Coconut Grove. As you see, Mayor, good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
Morning.
The arrest last night, we are now being told 57 arrests, and most of those coming from a violating curfew type charge. Obviously, the curfew you called was a tool to do this kind of thing, and you called it countywide when this was a very specific geographical area. Can you explain why you did this kind of call?
Well, because we didn't want them to jump from one curfew area to a non-curfew area, and so we thought it was best to do it countywide. We're going to do it again tonight. Probably scale it back to about 9 o'clock again to an abundance of caution. Everything's quiet right now, but we want to make sure that Miami-Dade County is safe. My job is to protect the health and welfare of the 2.8 million residents that call Miami-Dade County home. And so on top of that, we're also going to be delaying the opening of the beaches tomorrow, because a lot of the same officers that were on duty yesterday and probably be on duty today are there. We're supposed to be there tomorrow to make sure that we practice social distancing and enforce the rules about opening the beaches. And I have to say one thing, that I am extremely proud of the work of the Miami-Dade Police Department. I thought they were extraordinary. They went in to help the City of Miami Police Department. We were the ones that they went to Bayside. They protected the 111 building. They protected fire crews. I thought they did a fabulous job, and I couldn't be prouder of them.
Yeah. Mayor Gimenez, let me just follow up on something you just said. You are delaying the opening of beaches in Miami-Dade for at least one day, or how long is it going to be?
Yeah, one day. I think we want to see what happens today, and if everything is calm today, then we can take a respite for tomorrow. And then hopefully open up on Tuesday. But it really all depends on what happens today, what happens tonight. My hope is, and I believe that today and tonight will be calm and peaceful. I also have to give kudos out to the members of the community that we've developed really close relationships with, and they've helped us throughout this time. We have made tremendous strides with the Miami-Dade Police Department in community policing and the way that we police Miami-Dade as a whole. We were a pioneer in putting cameras on officers, way before that started that process before Ferguson. And so I'm really proud of the way that our department is viewed, as one of the finest departments in the world, and I'm really proud of what they did last night.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, let's sort of get a bigger picture here, trying to look at what happened over the last 24 hours. Miami-Dade County made it through the night. It was a good thing you declared the curfew. The police showed great restraint. There was one Miami police officer who had a hand injury, but nobody was killed. There was some vandalism, but overall, as bad as some things were, could have been a lot worse.
No, that's right. I'm like I said, I'm very proud of our police agencies. I thought the city of Miami did a fine job, but I also think that Miami-Dade did a fine job, a great job actually. And so they showed restraint, and none of our vehicles were damaged. None of our police officers were hurt. And I'm sorry that one individual from the city of Miami is hurt and will require surgery on the hand, from what I understand. But when you compare us to what's happened to other major cities around the United States, I think we came out really well, and it's not by accident. We wanted to show restraint. We want to protect everybody's right to protest, and that is a fundamental American right. We agree with how grievous and outrageous the action of that officer in Minneapolis was. That's not representative of police as a whole, and certainly the action of some rogue officer in Minneapolis shouldn't have consequences here in Miami after we've made so many great strides here in our community relations. Now, that being said, we still have a long way to go, and we will continue in this endeavor. till we make sure that everybody is treated with dignity, and that the residents of Miami-Dade feel and can see that the policing here is done the right way and the fair way, which I think we're making great strides to do, and I think that we do for the most part.
Mayor, you put out a tweet last night that I saw. You said there will be zero tolerance for lawlessness. And I wonder what you see as the difference between what we might call civil disobedience, which frankly has long been a force for necessary change in this country. So what do you see as a difference between civil disobedience and lawlessness?
Well, lawlessness is what we saw yesterday. You start torching cars, that's lawlessness. When you start going into stores to loot it, that's lawlessness. That's not civil disobedience. You're just there to grab some sunglasses or jewelry or shirts or TVs or something. That's just an excuse. Civil disobedience is something else. You sit on the ground. You stand your ground. You don't. You want to block traffic. Okay, that's civil disobedience. Lawlessness is something else. Again, it's for your benefit to put money in your pocket, put some articles, rob things. That's lawlessness. Set things on fires, set buildings on fire, ruin people's lives. That's lawlessness, and that's something we're not going to tolerate.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, in the course of all the things that unfolded yesterday, a couple of times you, and I think Mayor Suarez of Miami, mentioned the fact that there were some outside agitators who were there, who were leading some of the more militant and potentially violent moments. Who were the outside agitators?
Well, we have some ideas that they may be affiliated with Antifa and maybe some other radical groups that are anarchists, and they take advantage of situations like this around the country, and then they spread out. And they're well trained. They're pretty intelligent. We may not have caught them. As a matter of fact, I doubt we caught them because that's they're professionals at this thing, and so they go from city to city, agitating, trying to initiate some kind of confrontation with the police. And so that's why I thought yesterday there was a lot of restraint that was shown by our police officers, and I have to commend them for that. It's not easy to sit in a line stoically and then take insults and waters and being spat at. That's difficult to do, and so I think that we showed a lot of restraint. All the police agencies showed a lot of restraint. Look, the police isn't disagreeing. Okay, our police, the Miami-Dade Police Department, our director, City of Miami Police Chief, I know just spoke. What we saw in Minneapolis, that is not what policing is about. That is not what we are about. That's not what they are about. The police officers in the Miami-Dade Police Department and the other municipal police departments, they're our neighbors. Their kids go to school with our kids and our grandkids, and so. And again, there has been tremendous strides made here because we had lessons here. We went through some rough times here in this community. I recall 40 years ago when I was with the City of Miami. I was with the City of Miami Fire Department, but I also was a SWAT medic with a police department. And I remember the McDuffie, riots, and I remembered, that our town was burning.
Yeah,
And,
I was out on the streets 40 years as well as a reporter then for the Miami Herald, and last night was nothing like what happened 40 years ago.
No, but I made a pledge that if I ever got into position, that I could affect something like that, that we would never get to that again. Now, one thing we did have to do, we had to make strides with the neighborhood. We have to lift up our neighbors. We're all Miamians. We need to stick together. We rise together or we go down together. And I know we still have a long way to go, but I think we've made tremendous strides. And I know our police departments have made tremendous strides since those days, those horrible, horrible days back, in the 80s when there was a lot of police abuse here. There was there were people getting shot not unnecessarily. There was injustice. Again, I'm not saying that there's never going to be injustice, but we're making great strides to overcome it. And as a nation, we need to do that. As a community, we need to do and go further but I do believe we've come a long way. And so, that left a lasting impression on me 40 years ago. I still have it burned in my memory. I will never forget it. And I will never want to see, our town, my town, your town, go through that again. And
Mayor?
yes,
You're speaking to that choir, and we appreciate your time today, and we will check in later in the day as the news develops this afternoon. Thanks for your time.
We appreciate it, Mr. Mayor.